like to welcome now Molotkov to read from the Catalog of Broken Things.
You wake up in the morning. You go outside. This is your life as it is. And so good evening. Thanks for sharing some of your life with us tonight. Thank you so much, Bjorn, David, Danielle. Thank you all for being here, and thanks to the open mic readers for sharing those wonderful works. Those pictures are beautiful too. So thank you. As David pointed out, the book contains 4 longer poems, and I will give you samples from all 4 in sequence. So the first poem is the title one. It's called The Catalog of Broken Things. And I'll read several selections from that. I let my dead mother in. She's lonely out there on her own. Her ears are seashells, empty of sea. She carries me among her bones where her womb was. The moon, a breath away, a dead fact. I leak into the moment, linger. Death holds my hand, listens. I want to stop, to go back, to think it through before being. Shadows, watch out for me. My mother brings a pillow full of her own hair, soft like dawn. She grew it all her life and after. She sleeps lighter on her own past. The past, her only coin. Her lips don't move. She says, "Where is your passport?" I don't have it. I don't need it yet. Her eyes are flowers, but softer. My wife, an answer that eludes questions, makes words shine in their own right and wrong turns, thoughts to facts to fictions, makes me regret our passing future, our separate past. She's a crooked mirror in which I'm more and less. She undefines me, sends me looking for myself in new places. I invite exile, love invasion, mourn her in advance. My father holds a fishing net of small suns, each shining hesitantly, uncertain which planets might revolve around it. He carries his boat. His eyes are oceans of salt with rocky islands in the middle where light goes to sleep. His hands are heavy from the work. His lips are crack in darkness. The moon fails, falls. The wind listens. My uncle's face is askew. He hasn't been born yet. His feet are embedded in beautiful marble blocks. He's ready to tell me things about my parents I'd rather never know. My parents have their own beautiful marble blocks. My uncle retreats, uncertain of my attention. I'm someone else's memory, someone else's marble block. My sister wears her old skin, her face a boat. If I shake her hand, will she crumble? She has her passport. If I embrace her, Will she turn into a shadow in my arms? I see myself in the street, by the sea, in a cell, in a shell, in a joke, in an accident. I see my life as a short story as I prepare to vacate my body. My thoughts run after me. My brevity lasts, demands lifelong scrutiny. My son gives away heaps of roses on a dusty street corner. His hands bleed from rose thorns, but he smiles, ruffles his hair, a garden in his head. I don't know how it ends. I hope you guys will consider buying the book and finding out how it ends. The second poem is called The Protagonist's True Story. Now, I'm also a writer of fiction, so I often think about things like protagonists, points of view, and things like that, narrative techniques. So this was just some of the play that I did around those topics. The Protagonist's True Story. These are some selections. In the final experiment, I am the hope, and you the hoped for. The setting changes according to season and century. The raindrops are optional. The protagonist unlocks the door. The house is the same as years ago. Does our story start at birth or maturity? A great idea was just there on the tips of our minds when we bent down for a quarter and a bright future on a sunny street so long ago. In the final experiment, I am you and you are I. We meet in the middle of an empty field. You take out your weapon of choice. Perhaps it's my choice. Veins have no traffic lights, no stop signs. Blood laughs at high speeds. Life boils our white cells, runs from the scene of the accident. We are the eggs of our future selves. The protagonist is not in this scene. In the final experiment, you are death and I am life. Your long-term chances are excellent. You show me to the waiting room. In the cellar our tools wait. We know brick, glass, wood, eye, arm, back. Do we really affect the outcome? Cancer cells don't sleep. We extend our arms into space, molded to our will, but not our own stories. We love it all. A flood starts, a flood ends. We fall asleep with each other's names on our lips. In the final experiment, you tell me not to come, but I do. When I arrive, you are not there. I step out to look for you. When you arrive, I'm not here. You step out to look for me. We never see each other again. We swim as far as there is ocean to believe in. In the final experiment, you are the typist, and I'm the letter I. Each time you press my key, your finger applies more pressure. Then you type out a vehement line of ice to make a point. We are wrapped inside a bundle of narratives. Bright sun, bright moon. And our own story, so beautiful, so ready to end. Veins have no traffic rules, no rest stops. Outside the frame, The protagonist sighs with relief. We try to stay asleep. By the dawn, we wake to see the sun, real or fake. We dive into day with each other's faces in mind. So these were selections from the protagonist's true story. The fourth poem of the book is called The Melting Hourglass, and I was fortunate enough to work with Beth Fort, who is an early press designer. She was able to find this cool representation of The Melting Hourglass, which I'm very happy with. And it has two characters, Gumbelt and Zungvilda, that also appear in a lot of my other work, fiction and poetry. So, just to warn you about the strange names. The Melting Hourglass. I am an hourglass, most of me before, some after, almost none in the narrow now. Gumbelt walks in, folding his umbrella. Why is he carrying an umbrella? It's not raining. Zungvilda is not home yet. Glaciers melt in trickles and flood the earth. Can the umbrella protect from the flood? Zungvilda might be in orbit, perpetually spinning the earth like the moon's beautiful competitor. Or she might be riding an imaginary bike, following imaginary rules along a river not yet imagined. Gumbelt sits by the window, counting the raindrops in his memory. Raindrops that hit the ground in rains long past. I am here too, but I remain unnoticed. Invisibility suits me since I gained all this weight, the weight of centuries stretched ahead, so crudely devoid of me. Each new memory brings new forgetting. Futures unravel at the speed of chance. You are nearby, like you always are. We share our distance. I cannot see you. I cannot hear you. I never will. Zungvilda shares her thoughts. I have no choice but to listen. After all, she lives inside my head. She asks, why men are so difficult. Don't generalize, I say, but she can't hear me in there. I'm afraid it's a monologue. I'm afraid it always is. She wonders why every day seems to start with wild yanking and smoke like an old lawnmower. She muses about the interchangeable questions and answers. She suspects that the new crater that just formed on the moon might be her early grave. She remembers the time when she was a girl lost in a forest. I remember it too, even though I was too young to remember. Dear listener, I remember the shore, the palms, the waves, the smell, the smile, the grimace, the dead man's face. And now you remember it too. Dear listener, you remember the ice, the moon, the shovel, the frozen bodies. And now I've been there. I asked Gumbelt and Zungvilda if they were the same person. They just smiled in response. What about you? Are you the same person? If I'm the negative, then who's the image? You said something distant, something I missed. As usual, from my perspective, you are far ahead of me. Dear listener, mysteries occur before we notice, and futures unravel at the speed of choice. Each move unfolds centuries. With each step, the sea of forgetting follows. Dear listener, outside on the platform, you said something meaningful, something I missed.
What color is that counter? What color is that counter? Thank you.
When I saw you last, you were so small, like a raindrop with an IV. Yet, over the years, you have grown in my memory. When it's my turn to be a raindrop, will you welcome me into your ocean? Thank you very much. And the last poem in the book is entitled Your Life as It Is. And it goes like this.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you, Leslie. You wake up in the morning. You go outside. This is your life as it is. You wake up in the morning and get out of bed. The carnival is in town. The signs are unmistakable. The calliope song, the smells, the excited voices. Your husband is making breakfast. He is humming to himself. You would rather have silence, but he will not say anything. Last year's footprint is this year's mudslide. The pawns are running an election to select the king. You receive your own radio transmission from the future. It is encrypted. You don't know the cipher yet. You go outside. The bright red sunset is the same as the last time. You wake up in the morning and find yourself in the middle of a snow-covered field. Minuscule on the horizon stands an outline of a place you call home. The only path you can see leads away from it. Your wife is walking toward you across a vast distance. Her figure is tiny, but her enormous shining eyes are like moons over the spare landscape. Somewhere along the way, your smile turned into a grimace. You have tried to mark your every turn so you can make your way out of the labyrinth. But the paint has run out. Knights and bishops are laughing at you from a nearby hill. Then you notice that the walls are 2 feet high. If you hadn't looked down all your life, you would have realized that sooner. You go outside. The street is brightly decorated. Cheerful balloons of all colors are tied to benches, street signs, even the parked cars. But there is no one in sight. Is it possible that the whole world exists exclusively for your sake? You wake up in the morning. The carnival sounds you heard just a minute ago belong in your dream. The waking life is the same as the dream, but without the carnival. You have to warm up your car. Your wife was supposed to make the tea, but the thermos is empty. You get upset, but when you check on her, her body is rounded onto itself. You touch her forehead. It's cold and impenetrable, like other dreams that have slipped away. You don't have to close her eyes. Your handwriting had turned illegible before arriving on paper. This is the nature of your thoughts. A black and white couple of pawns get married and improvise a new game. You go outside. The little girl rides her bicycle by your front porch. The wheels are frozen, as if she's in a film. You realize you, too, may be in a film. You look around for a camera, but your own eyes are the camera and the source of light. You wake up in the morning and open your eyes. Your room is crowded. Your old friends, long dead, have come to honor you. Their eyes are kind, as if they had forgiven you all the offenses you unwittingly committed. Your husband desperately holds on to a tree branch suspended over a deep canyon. You stand on the edge. You want to help, but as much as you try, you can't reach him. In panic, you scan the area for something you could use to help him hold his weight. There's nothing but pine cones and dry leaves. You bend over to tie your shoes. The king and the queen have retired. They took up residence off the board. You can see their house from your front porch. The smoke from their barbecue causes you to tear up in fake grief. You go outside. The heavy orange sky is oppressive, like a dying love affair. The day must be ending. You missed its beginning. You missed many things you would have loved. You wake up in the morning. You are in the middle of a vast empty square. Sharp nails of skyscrapers piercing the clouds. You must be here for a meeting, but you can't remember with whom. The buildings are identical. Your dead mother is surprised to see you. Her lips move, but no sound is produced. You realize that you have gone deaf. You try to read her lips, but they don't appear to form words. You take her by the hand to guide her out of this place. Her hand is small. Your history is more ancient with every day. Before a moment passes, it is already registered in the catalogue of the past. The catalogue is not alphabetized. A few pawns are picking on a rook in the space between the ocean and the river. You go outside, but the outside is gone. It's like a vast empty field, but without a field. It's like you, but without you. You have brought a library of building blocks from which you will construct it all over. Every day, you must create yourself and the world around you. This is your life as it is. Thank you.